can I see it? I asked him to see it for some reason.
Nice.
And then he opened it up and I was like, oh my, I didn't know like a human hand look like hamburger meat or something. I was like, oh my God, like the little.
Welcome to the Calm in the Chaos podcast, where we discuss untold heroic experiences and dive into the mindset of the Navy's elite rescue swimmers. Hosted by former U.S. Navy Aviation Rescue Swimmer, Mount Everest solo summiteer, and best-selling author Brian Dickinson.
Hey everyone, it's Brian Dickinson. If you're enjoying these stories, please take a second to like, subscribe, and share the podcast. It helps more people find these conversations, and it keeps the mission alive. And if you want early access to new episodes and to support what we're building, consider becoming a Spotify paid subscriber. Your support means everything. Now let's jump in so others may live. All right, Tommy Maxwell. So, been having a few conversations on the Instagram, and you have some interesting stories of kind of like from one extreme to the other. Honestly, you're probably the most exciting person to have on here for my son, who's in college right now, but just a big fan of reptile. Like his room was just used to be filled with just reptiles and different tarantulas and scorpions and different stuff. So maybe my son Jordan will watch one of the episodes. But I'm excited to have you here. You're in for 10 years. We're talking offline, like on Bravos, and just doing some interesting things out there. So thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Brian. And I can feel your pain. I feel bad for my parents. Growing up, my whole room was filled up with tanks of reptiles and stuff. And I'm glad they let me keep them, because some of my friends wanted reptiles and their parents didn't let them keep them. So I can imagine what it was like. You know, you probably found crickets hopping around and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Man, they will find a way.
Yep.
And they will get out. Yeah, no, it was interesting. And even my son had a snake, Monty Python. His name was Monty. I would have to feed it, and that thing it just recognized me as food. When I came in the room, it would just start like seeing like, oh, it could smell me or whatever, and like, okay, it's on. So yeah, I never I would take my pulse as I was feeding, and it would like be pretty calm. We tend to be pretty calm people. As soon as that rat got hit, and I'm spiking, like it's wrapping up around us. So like total adrenaline rush. So yeah, I don't know. I don't mind snakes. I don't like how sneaky they are. Like when I'm on a trail or something, man, they'll just be there and they're quiet and like freaks me out. So awesome. Yeah, no, it's exciting to have you on. So I know you grew up in Connecticut. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up in your childhood.
All right. So I grew up in a small town called Brantford, Connecticut, and it's almost kind of like an average New England town. It's on the Long Island Sound. I grew up in a neighborhood that was kind of like I'll say it's like a woodsy area. So, and my best friend lived in a house pretty much right in my backyard. So we'd always go outside playing, looking for reptiles. And then we got a little older, got into skateboarding and stuff, and just grew up running around the woods looking for reptiles, really, and just getting into some shenanigans with my other neighbors and stuff. Like we used to, one of my neighbors had a trampoline, so we would always move the trampoline next to his house, and we'd jump off the roof onto the trampoline, or bring the trampoline into the pool area, and jumped off the trampoline into the pool. But that was the most exciting thing growing up for me, was just trampolines and woods and stuff.
Yeah, well, that's all you need. So was this in the 80s, 90s?
90s into 2000s. I graduated high school in 2005. So
wow.
It was
so
so pretty much from the 90s into the 2000s.
Right on. What type of reptiles did you have in Connecticut?
Not too many. I first started I first got into reptiles, I think, because my mom brought me to a video store. They had VHS tapes and stuff. So I would just go around. She'd let me pick one. And then one time there's this movie called Frog. So I was like, oh, that looks good or whatever. And I got it. I must have been like, I don't know, 4 or 5 or something. So I saw that. And then I think I immediately was like, oh, this is awesome. The guy had like a garage filled with reptiles. And then I probably asked my mom, oh, can we go look for some reptiles? And she would bring me to ponds, and I started catching frogs. And then, the only reptiles I ever caught in Connecticut, there's eastern painted turtles, snapping turtles, and mud turtles. And then for snakes, there's garter snakes and like some kind of black snake. I've never really been able to identify exactly what it is because I have a bunch of snake books, and these snakes were black, and then on their belly was white, and they had little red triangles. So I didn't know what it was. So I would never obviously let those ones bite me or anything. And then that's it for reptiles, actually. There are timber rattlers up there, but I've never, in copperheads. I've only seen a copperhead once. I've never seen a timber rattler, but that's it for Connecticut, really.
Okay. It's funny, your trampoline story. I have a good friend, Joe Sutherland. It's funny because all the books that I write, there's always a funny Easter egg about him in them. I just kind of hide them in there, or it's just up front, either way. But we did the same. We were jumping off trampolines, and I think he had probably underage drinking. He had a beer can and bounced, I think, off this hill, trampoline, or maybe it was off a roof, and then launched into the woods, but landed. I think maybe the beer was in his pocket or something, but it sliced open and like just stuck him right in the
Oh
leg.
my God.
Like that's, of course, we're at a friend's house, whose parents are out of town. So what
Yeah.
are you gonna do? It's the 80s. Things got a
Yeah.
little real. Cool. So, okay, so you went from collecting frogs to wanting to be a frogman. Tell us about why you joined the Navy.
So originally I grew up, my dad was a police officer, and I looked up to my dad, and my dad was always into the typical, watch. My favorite movie growing up pretty much was The Predator with Arnold.
Oh yeah.
And my dad
Excellent.
first got me onto that when I was real little. And I remember just watching it. And I always thought this, I'd never really thought about this until later in life. But when I was watching it, one of my favorite parts is when they're just flying in the helicopters, and they're all just hanging out in the back and, just messing around with each other and stuff. I would always like, that's super cool. The whole movie's awesome.
Mhm.
So I was just like military movies in general, Full Metal Jacket, all those movies.
Hey, if you love high stakes action, military intrigue, and stories that keep you turning pages late into the night, you won't want to miss my new thriller, Bloodline of Redemption. From a rogue Russian submarine on a covert nuclear mission to the unforgiving peaks of the world's deadliest mountains, it's a nonstop ride of suspense and survival. Order your copy now on Amazon or wherever books are sold, and dive into the mission.
So originally I was interested in joining the Marines, and my dad and I went to the Marine office, and I just graduated college at the time. So I didn't know anything about the military. I thought you could just go in the recruiter's office and say whatever you want. Oh, I want to do this. And they'll be like, sure. So we went in the Marine recruiting office, and they had me wait and whatever. And then one of the recruiters said, oh, what are you interested in doing in the Marines or something? I just said tank officer. I didn't even know if they had tanks or what. And then he just kind of like laughed.
Awesome.
He kind of like laughed at me, and he was like, you don't really get to pick what you do. And I was like, okay. And then we're sitting there, and my
Why'd you
dad
ask
was listening.
then?
What'd you say?
It's like, why'd you ask?
Yeah. Yeah. And then my dad was like kind of listening to what the recruiters were talking to some kid. And I guess they must have said something like, oh yeah, once this, they were talking about something to do with like some kind of criminal record, or he had something in his history that he got in trouble for or whatever. And my dad like grabbed me by the shirt, and he walked out. He's like, you're not going to join the Marines from this office. And because he thought it was BS that they were wasting their time on this punk kid who, I don't know what the deal with him was, but my dad's like, you're not going to join the Marines out of this office. It was in New Haven or whatever. And he's like, you can go somewhere else, but I don't want you dealing with these guys. And at the time, this is actually kind of a funny sidebar. One of my best friends at the time that I met at a job that I was doing in the summertime, his name is John Swick. And we'd hang out and, go get drinks or work out together and stuff. And at the time, he was joining the Navy. And he's been going to the Navy recruiting office, and I had no idea. I didn't know anything about the Navy because I've just been looking into the Marines. And he's like, just come down to the Navy office and just see what they have to say. And I was like, oh, the Navy. What am I going to do in there? Sitting around on a boat or whatever. And I didn't know what a spec war was. I didn't know what spec ops was. I had no idea what any of that was. And oddly enough, his last name is Swick, Swick. and he was interested in joining SWIC. And I want to say that I feel like he joined that just because his last name, but so he got a SWIC contract and all that. Went through the pipeline and has been successful. I think he's still in, but
I bet that would have been a tough name to have going through the program.
So you know how they have a stencil our shirts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like the first 5 letters of your name. So mine was like Maxwell or whatever, and his is SWIC, 5 letters. And they wouldn't let him stencil his name with SWIC, so he had to do his middle name. So it's like, I think his middle name's like Bartlett or something. So they had him do that instead, and they wouldn't call him SWIC. They said, you don't deserve to be called that, and all that.
Wow.
But so at the recruiter's office, I was in there. And they're like, what do you want to do in the Navy? And I was like, I don't know. What do you got? Like, cook or something? I don't know. And my friend's like, dude, you got to do spec ops, spec wars. I was like, what's that? And then the guy's like, we actually have SEAL contracts and air rescue contracts. And for some reason, when he said air rescue, I was like, what's that? And then he said you just fly around in helicopters, jump out of them, and shoot machine guns. And I was like, that one. I'm interested in that one. And then
Predator.
I fell right into it. And then right after that, the whole thing happens with when you were in, did you guys have like depth mentors, like spec war or spec op mentors or anything?
Yeah, it's called Dive Motivator. Yeah, in boot camp. Yep.
Oh, well, yeah. So when I was joining, I don't know if it just started. So you're in the depth program or whatever, and so you have to take a handful of PSTs, and then a guy, he was a retired SEAL Master Chief. He actually still does this to this day. I think he works with candidates who want to go into any of the Navy spec war, spec ops jobs. But so I was working with him, and he like records the PSTs, and then he's the one who signs off whether or not someone's going to get a contract. But so I started working with him, and
this is prior to boot.
Yep, prior to boot camp.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was actually perfect for me because I almost got an entire year before. So my friend Swick, I think he had like. Because he joined, he was a few months ahead of me, but he had like 8 months, and then I had like almost a year, and all I did that whole entire year was work out, swim, do push-up. My whole life was just working out at the time, and I had good enough numbers within like the first 2 or 3 PSTs, but by the end, man, I was ready to go.
Want to show your support for Calming the Chaos and the stories of our nation's elite rescue swimmers? Check out our exclusive merch line shirts, hats, and stickers designed for those who live with courage and purpose. Military and first responders get 10% off each order. Just use the code SARRESCUE10, SARRESCUE, the number 10, SARRESCUE10, at checkout. Grab yours today on Amazon or briandickinson.net/store and wear your support proudly so others may live.
But yeah, so that's pretty much how I kind of fell into it. But after I was at the recruiting office, and I immediately went on YouTube and just typed in air rescue, Navy rescue swimmer, and I watched all these videos, and then I was like super pumped that that's the one that I was that I chose and stuff. Yeah. So I loved it. I was obsessed with it since that day.
Wow, that's so cool, man. Life has changed so much. It's neat to just have all those resources out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went to Great Lakes, and then did they have the Dive Motivator there?
Yep.
Okay.
I can't remember what time, but every morning we would wake up at boot camp because they made the 800 divisions. So I think we woke up at like 4:30 or 4:45, and then you go to the dive mo guys, and you go to the pool, or you go and like they sometimes bring you on a run or whatever. But yeah, that was I actually enjoyed it. I'm not a big morning person, but after I woke up a little bit, I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. And then from there, straight to Pensacola.
Yep. Right to Pensacola. I was never on any kind of like. I never had to be a scruff or anything. A few of my friends had to do that, and I don't know why. Maybe something in the record or something. But they would have to either stay in Great Lakes or at rescue swimmer school. They were on hold for like a long time, so they kind of helped the instructors, and they were just standing by until whatever they needed to do cleared.
Nice. So how was that experience?
Boot camp or?
Boot camp. Like, start with aircrew.
Oh, okay. So aircrew, I kind of knew a little bit about it because I read up on it and I watched some videos and stuff. But I actually I thought it was super fun. It was just, it was kind of like right when I got there, I'm like, okay, this is the military. Like I gotta have military bearing because typically I'm kind of a jokester and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, wow, this is serious. And you're half the aircrew class is Marine, so we're marching around there singing the Marine cadence and stuff. And I was like, wow, this is serious now. But other than the military bearing stuff, I loved it. I thought it was fun. I loved all the Disney. What is it? It's called Disney Week and the Helo
Yep.
Dunker and the spin and puke and stuff. I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
So I had a blast with it.
What was the hardest part?
Of aircrew,
Yeah.
I feel like aircrew was relatively easy, but I would say for me the hardest part was because I didn't really know any. I didn't know. I never really like figured out. I didn't think too much about the Helo Dunker, and then when I was actually in it, it kind of freaked me out a bit. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, and I was like kind of like a little nervous about it. So I'd say that was the hardest part, especially when you have to wear the blindfold goggles.
Mm-hmm.
So that I would say that was the hardest part for me, just mentally. Obviously, it's not that crazy because you only have to hold your breath for you get out in like 10, 15 seconds, something like that. So once I thought about that, I'm like, I'm only going to be holding my breath for 10, 15 seconds. Calm down. So after I did
Mm-hmm.
like one or two of them, I'm like, okay, I'm good. But that was the hardest part for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Unnatural thing to do, but pretty
Yeah, the
amazing.
water goes up your nose and everything.
Yeah. Stay calm. So, okay. So then you went to SAR school. Tell us about that.
Oh, that was it was pretty funny. One of my roommates when I was in aircrew school, he was in a different aircrew class than me. But he was I don't know what he was going for like AWF something else. And he's like, oh, you're going to SAR school? Good luck with that. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, oh, you didn't hear? They drown people. They purposely drown you. And so he's playing a joke on me. But at the time, I believed it. He's like, oh yeah, I heard the instructors they pull everyone in one by one, and then they hold you underwater until you drown, and they take you out and resuscitate you. And I was so gullible. I was like, oh my god, seriously? But in my head, I'm like, I'm still willing to go through it. So the first introduction I had to all SAR school was in between aircrew and rescue swimmer school was Build Up, which was also a awesome little program, and it was ran by a retired Master Chief DiCenso, and he was awesome. And
I served with DiCenso.
What did you say?
I served with DiCenso.
Yeah, he
Tony
was.
and I
What was it
were
like to serve
together.
with him? Was he just as awesome in the Navy as he was when he was at rescue
He
swimmer
was,
school? You think?
yeah, he was an amazing guy. He's ballistic BB, and the dude had so much energy.
Yeah,
Yeah, good dude.
yeah. And then I didn't find out till after that he was in the Hunt for Red October, and I was like, that is
Mhm.
awesome,
Yep.
Yeah, so he ran the build up, and he was a super cool guy. I really liked him, and then once build up was done, and we had to actually get ready to go to rescue swimmer school. We went to the Shark Tank, so I think we put on our NSUs and we marched down there, and then I was like, okay, this is serious now. They're all all the rescue swimmer instructors are coming like screaming in your face, nitpicking any little because the RDCs at boot camp. They do a good job and everything, but the rescue swimmer instructors are like, I felt like they were like bloodhounds. They were like looking at every little thing on everyone's uniform, and I was
Yep.
like, oh man, I hope everything's perfect. And luckily, they didn't pay too much attention to me. And yeah, so the Shark Tank, they were yelling at everybody, and then so after that, the first 2 weeks of I got rolled back, so I made it all the way to the last week of training in my first class. But the first 2 weeks, both times are that's when they want to weed people out. That's when they're really making everybody run and swim, as you know.
Mhm.
And so that was just it was definitely physically challenging, but I feel like I was already ready for that. And then the second time around, I was even more ready. But yeah, the first 2 weeks was really definitely the toughest part for me. Was when they're just beating you down, making you
Mhm.
run. I can't remember how long they make you run. I want to say 4 or 5 miles, and then in between that, you're doing all the push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, and then after that, you go in the pool, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm like already exhausted now. I gotta go swim, and they make you do like 75 meters, 50 meters, 25 meters, and then they make you do the underwaters and stuff, and it's exhausting.
Yep. Well, that's the point.
Yep.
So when you rolled back, did you roll back at the same time, or did you have to start from day one?
I didn't have to start from the actual day one. I can't remember exactly. So I rolled back because I failed the final multi. I think I was just I was just like a deer in the headlights, and I messed up something to do with the rescue devices, and then they brought me in the they brought me in, and the chief and LPO and everyone was talking to me, and they said that I have a chance. So I want to say I might have started like at the end of the first week or something like that, or so it was like a random time, but I kind of just jumped right into that class.
How was it that, I mean, it's tough to get rolled back. You're pushing so hard and then you make just it's attention to detail or something and you make that mistake and it could cost a life. So you understand why, but still it's tough. Like how did you do mentally at that point?
Um, well, when it first happened, I was like I was really down about it. And then it turns out two of my friends from the same class also were rolling back with me. So my friends kind of helped me with that. But I was just I wanted to pass and get through it so bad that I was just so nervous. I actually kind of like the physical stuff, even though it's challenging, I liked it. And I never thought, oh, this is too much, I'm going to quit. I was really enjoying it. I was most worried about like the final test, like the final medical and the final multi. And then
Mhm.
when I got through the second time, I passed the final multi. And then right after the final multi, you go up and do a medical scenario. And
Mhm.
then I failed the first medical because I never did the medical. I never got to the medical
Yeah,
scenario
right.
in the first class. So I got to the medical scenario and I failed something on that, and then you have one more chance. I think the next day or whatever to you can only fail it once, and then you get another try. So the first time I failed the final multi, I guess I failed it twice. So then I got the final multi passed, and then I failed the medical, and then that night was like the most stressful night of my life. I'm like, if
I
I
bet.
don't pass this final medical chance I have, they probably won't give me another chance. So I was just like, I have to do whatever I have to do to get this done. And then I think that somehow I kind of like when I went through it, I kind of calmed myself down, kind of like the title of your channel and everything. I was like, I have to stay calm because if I'm like a deer in the headlights, I'm gonna mess something up again. So when I was doing the final medical scenario, in my head, I was just talking myself through every little step, and then I kind of slowed down in my brain a little bit, and then I just went through it and got through it. And after that, I was like, whew, thank the Lord, you know.
Yeah, it must have been quite a feeling. Done with that. Did you guys do jumps?
No, that that of course that year that I went through, there's a big oil spill in the
Mhm.
Gulf, and that canceled the jump. So I didn't get to do my first SAR jumps until frac.
That sucks.
Yeah,
We trained to swim in the oil, burning oil.
yeah,
It would have been
yeah.
great hands on.
Yeah, we were all super bummed because obviously that would be like the highlight of SAR school, in my opinion. And yeah, I didn't get to do that until whenever frac was finished. So I had to go through the rest of the pipeline, and then
Mhm.
I can't remember when SAR jumps are in frac, but they're not in the beginning. You know.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so everything was in Pensacola then, right? You went
Yep.
through AW school, and then from there, you're saying offline that you had a sort of a choice based on where you were in the classroom to for the platform.
Yep.
Take us through that.
Depending on what grades you got in A school, there's a handful of us that did pretty good. So we had a choice to choose between the Romeo or Bravo pipeline, and I didn't know what it was. And I just asked the instructor, I'm like, "What's a Bravo? I never even heard of a Bravo." And he's like, "It's just the same thing as a Romeo. It's just the school for that, the frac for that is 6 months instead of 9 months or a year or whatever." I was like, "Oh, pick that one," you know. And then one of my best friends also picked it, and then didn't realize that it was like an airframe that's getting phased out. But I'm glad I chose it because it was awesome to learn to fly in that aircraft. And then I eventually got to go into the Romeo, so it was
Mhm.
nice to go to see differences in the two. I actually like the
Mhm.
Bravo way better.
Yeah, why is that?
For in my opinion, some people might get mad at me. I think the dipping sonar, for in my opinion, is a waste of time. We always did. I always did much better, and my friends always did much better when we were doing ASW events and at Alltech. And I just feel like the dipper, at least when I was using it, and using it on exercises, and always have some kind of malfunction, and it's just you're just staying there, and there's malfunctions, and then you're stuck there, and then you have to troubleshoot. You have to go through the checklist. And I just like the Bravo because you're flying around with the Mad Bird, yeah, and you're just hitting it, and you also have sonar buoys. So I would still choose the Bravo to this day. I think that I think I can do ASW better in a Bravo than I can in a Romeo.
Oh, Yeah, I'd like to go up against you. I was Foxtrots. I
Oh,
think
gotcha.
I think Tommy, I think I would destroy you. Like Tony DiCenso and I were a combat crew, which meant we were on a carrier. We flew together often. And yeah, we had some unique experiences. In fact, my newest book, Bloodline of Redemption, is based on it starts out, it's a military thriller, it's fiction, but it's actually based on an event that he and I both had. But yeah, it's funny because it's whatever you train for, whatever you know. It's like
Yeah.
because I had Bravo people, they would come on and be like, that sonar, it's basically just a sonobuoy on a wire.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, all good stuff, and it's good everyone working together because
Yeah, I think a big part of me liking the Bravo is just because that's what I, got trained up on, and that was my first aircraft that I flew on. So then I was kind of like, oh, Romeo, I don't want to go on that thing, yeah, with the Dipper. I mean, I'm sure if it works perfect, it's amazing. But I just didn't have that experience. I always had malfunctions when I was using that thing.
yeah, yeah. My friend Justin Tate, he snagged the front of the sail on a submarine and ripped the
Oh
the
my
whole
god.
sonar off. So yeah, it was working until it wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So okay, so you went out. Where did you go to school? Where was your frac?
Oh, Frack was in Jacksonville, Mayport, and that was all. I love the whole. Like, I would say that I might actually have enjoyed the training pipeline almost just as much as I liked doing the job itself. But yeah, Frack was in Jacksonville. It was awesome. I was there with a bunch of my best friends, and we had a great time. It was really cool to finally start flying because I never got to go on a helo until Frack.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that was really exciting for me to start flying around. And there was like one guy who so we got to Frack and we didn't really fly. I don't know. We were like waiting a few weeks to start the curriculum or whatever. But one guy he kept saying how airsick he gets and stuff, and I was like, I hope I don't get airsick because I've never been in a helicopter. I have no idea what it's like. But turns
Mhm.
out I was fine with it.
That's cool. So your first jump, tell us about that.
So first jump was in Jacksonville in the St. Johns River, and it was I was I've been waiting for this for a couple years now, so I was just super pumped about it. And there was four of us, so two of my buddies they went first, so we went out on the SAR boat, and then my two buddies went out. They got hoisted up and then did their jump, and then me and my other friend Dylan were next, and I got to watch them do it, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm going to be doing this in a 10 minutes or whatever. And then we jumped off the SAR boat, got it hoisted up, and then it was I don't know if you know he was AWR1 at the time. Utter, do you know Ryan, Chief Utter or Senior Chief Utter? Okay, he was the guy in the helo, but I just remember looking at him and then I was just like, oh my gosh, got in the gunner's belt, sat in the door, and then it was just everything I hoped it would be. It was awesome. I loved it.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a long. I don't get that. It's such a long gap between the training and the job that you're training to do to then all
Yeah.
these peripherals, and you end up doing so many different jobs.
Yep.
But I feel like that can make or break. Just doing those jumps. I mean, that's legit. The rotor wash, everything else,
Yep.
and then I don't know, you forget all that. You're still doing like water training and different things and stuff, but yeah, it is amazing. That's one thing in the civilian world. I wish there was like I guess in Hawaii now there's a former SEAL who brings people out and you can jump from a helo.
Oh, okay.
But
That's cool. I think I've seen that guy actually.
just want to get that fix every once in a while.
Yeah.
I was on a Marcus Luttrell's podcast a while back, and he and his family had just went over and did that and did some diving and stuff. He said it was pretty cool. Kind of
Oh,
get
that's
that
awesome.
fixed. Okay, so you went from there to your first squadron.
Yep.
What was that?
So again, so I was a class leader of my frat class of there's four of us, and they said the class leader gets to pick first, and then we found out there was I wanted to go to 48 because it's a snake, it's a reptile, and that's the only one at the time that was a reptile. So I was like, I want to go to 48, and
Your logic is just spot on.
and there was 3 48 orders, and then one for San Diego, and my friend Dylan, who really pretty much, in my opinion, was should have been the class leader. He was academically sharp, didn't fail anything. He was perfect the whole time. So I said, you could have first pick, and I knew he wanted to go to San Diego, so I just gave him the first pick. He went to San Diego, and then me and my other two good friends went to 48. And yeah, I was just super pumped. All I'd do is go down the street a little bit, and it was awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. So tell us about your first deployment.
I only ended up going on one.
Okay, tell us about your only deployment.
Okay. My senior crewman was one of my friends. He was a second class, and I was a third class. We already kind of hung out a little bit and stuff. And then when we were getting ready to go out, he was like, "Hey, look, man, we're gonna bump heads. You're probably gonna get pissed at me sometimes." And I said, "Look, man, you're the senior crewman. I'm not gonna whatever you need me to do. I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna mess with you at all." And it ended up being awesome. We only argued once on the whole entire deployment. And it was like a stupid argument about some kind of cartoon or something. But deployment was awesome. So it was so the workup was a little weird for me because I had no idea what it would be like sleeping on a ship. And my senior crewman said, try to find a rack that doesn't sway this way, so like when you're on the water, it's not like your feet and head are not going up and down. Try to get it where you're kind of getting cradled that way. But the only rack I got it was going this way, and I hated it. And I got through it. Or the workups, it was just weird to adjust sleeping on a ship. And then when we actually went on deployment, me and him both got racks that are the other way. So that was nice.
What ship?
It was the Monterey CG-61. It's been decommissioned. I don't know, a few years ago, I think. Guided missile cruiser. But yeah, it was. I really liked. Once I adjusted to the sleeping and everything, I really enjoyed it. When we crossed the Atlantic, though, a couple of the nights it was super choppy. So that's the first time I got to experience I didn't really get seasick. I definitely, it made me like really tired. So I was like wanting to sleep a lot, but a lot of people were throwing up and stuff. And my senior crewman had no issues with it. And so we were just kind of like, we're in the shop, like trying to play video games, and we're like, what the heck's going on,
That's interesting because I was on a carrier, so it's a totally different world.
Yeah.
You can still feel the boat move, but not it.
Yeah.
Not like what you were on.
Yeah. So it took me a few weeks to figure out the layout of the ship. And like the first couple nights, I was like, "Oh, I got to go here," and I was like, "How do I get there again?" And then I had to go up to the carrier a few different times, and I had to escort one guy inside. And I just kept asking, "Hey, how do I get here? How do I get here?" And then I got him to where he was, and then I was just like, "Where are we supposed to be?" And I was like, how do I get out of here? So I had to find somebody. Can you show me how to get out of this thing? It's insane how big those things are in person. I was shocked. And aren't there like 5,000 to 6,000 people living on those?
Yeah, it's nuts. There's like gangs and stuff.
Yep. What's it like? What's it like when you have to get off the ship to go, like, if you pull in to a port for like fun? So you have to wait like for each person to get off?
Yeah, but there's a couple different ways usually. Whatever those quarter decks, or I don't know, what are those things they lower that you can go off?
Oh, okay. They got multiple. Gotcha.
Yeah. And then like when you can't pull in like port side in certain areas, so like Singapore, Hong Kong, different places, you're like parked out, so they have to take like the little boats in.
Yeah.
So those are nuts, because if you're hitting these ports, first thing you do is, let's hit this bar and then we'll go see something else, and then like 4 days later you haven't left that bar. But when you're taking those back at like midnight or whatever, and everyone's drunk, like you think you're fine, and then you're just going up and down. Like next thing, everyone's just throwing up off the side, and yeah, it's a lot. It's a different world for sure. But yeah, they kind of stagger how you get on and off. But there's, I think, a couple different ways you can get off.
You got to go to Hong Kong?
A couple times, yeah.
That is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. Was it cool?
Oh yeah. We went to Australia, Perth, and Sydney 4 times, Hong Kong, Singapore. I did a couple deployments.
Yeah.
Korea, Japan. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep. You were always East Coast?
Yep. So I had like a thought in my mind. If I decided to make the Navy a full, do its full 20, I was like, I want to do I want to do like half of my naval career on the East Coast so I can see all the European countries and stuff. And then I want to maybe go to California and then do it the next 10 there so I could see Australia and Asia and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out I just didn't end up staying in, but I thought that would have been cool to get a little both sides.
That would be cool. Yeah, I did 6 years, so I was one and done.
Yep.
Okay, so during your deployment, you had a handful of medevacs. Tell us about what was the one that sticks out?
Oh, the one that sticks out was somebody on my ship. They got their hands crunched into a hatch, so I guess they closed it, and I think he said that it closed like all the way on his fingers,
Oh my gosh,
and so he was like freaking out. And then I want to say we flew. I think we flew him to. I want to say we flew him to the carrier. We always did stuff, fly him to the carrier and say or wherever they had to go, but. He was sitting next to me in the cabin, and like it wasn't like gushing out blood or anything like crazy. They just kind of wrapped it up in some I don't know what the corpsman did to his hand. They didn't do a good job, but I was like,
Band-Aid and Motrin.
yeah, I put ICS on him so he can hear us and we can talk and stuff. And then I was like, can I see? I asked him to see it for some reason, and then he opened it up, and I was like, "Oh my!" I didn't know like a human hand could look like hamburger meat or something. I was like, "Oh my god!" Like the little part of his hand right here, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, man!" And I felt bad for him because he was obviously freaking out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the one that sticks out. Every single medevac I did was somebody on my ship, like somebody like fell down a ladder well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she hurt her leg or something, but it was never anything, because in my mind I'm like, oh, we're going to the Persian Gulf, I was like, oh, we're gonna, maybe we'll go get some Marines and I'll be able to jump out and drag some Marines out and help them out. But there's always people on my ship just like falling or getting their hands stuck in doors and stuff.
Yeah, that's important. You're the life flight. Yeah, you see some random stuff. We had a gang fight. Some guy got his eye knocked out with a pipe.
And did you have to fly him?
I didn't.
Okay.
But my squadron did, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard about because I had one friend who was on a carrier, and he told me that there's gangs on there, but I didn't know. I didn't know it was a real thing. It's actually a real thing.
Yeah, I'd be down in the gym, and next thing, someone's like pinning, like if they're ganging up on the rival gang.
Oh my gosh!
We step in, do we? Hey guys. Yeah, I mean it's 5,000 people. That's twice as big as the town I grew up in.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. That's definitely crazy. So when you first got on the carrier, did you just kind of stay to where you had to go? Like you go to your rack, go to the gym, go to the hangar, or did you kind of did you figure out how to get around that whole thing pretty quick, or how was that? Because that thing is huge to me. I feel like I would get lost.
Oh yeah, and even 2 deployments on the Constellation, I never saw all of it. Yeah, I think at first, you got to find safety, and our aircrew shop was down where the wires were, so on the far end, and then our ready room and barracks were at the front angle, so one side to the other. So definitely had to get the A to B down, figuring out, okay, because if you're on alert 30 or whatever, you got to launch, got to figure all that out. But yeah, over time, you just kind of like explore a little bit, bring a buddy, like
Yeah.
you drop some breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's always a lot going on, and you could just go up and watch flight ops and everything else. So it's definitely a cool experience. Loved landing on the small boys as well, though. So you guys always had better food. So we'd try to snake some food from you guys. And so you did one deployment, you came back, and did you become an instructor at that point?
No. So I came back, and then they were. I can't remember. I got back, and then I had to go. Eventually, they knew that a few of us would have to go through the Romeo pipeline. So
Oh, that's right.
I got back, and then one of my friends got back, and I can't remember what the difference in time was that we went through the pipeline, but we're pretty close. And then when we finished, the chief was like, "Oh, one of you guys are going to be the senior crewman," and I was excited because I think it would have been awesome to be a junior crewman and go out like everybody else does and be a senior crewman, have a junior. So I thought that'd be cool. But my friend ended up going on that deployment, and then just pretty much wrote the flight schedule and and chill, did random flights and stuff until I was originally going to do like you didn't do 6, and then I was like, I kind of want to see what shore duty's like, and I was like, it would be really cool to be a rescue swimmer instructor. So I emailed Master Chief Tonicenso, and I was like, hey, is there any way you can get, because there are no orders for popping. I was like, any way you can get me in? And then he said pretty much no. And then I messaged another guy. He said, no, if the orders aren't popping, you can't get there. But I really tried to get there. So yeah, I pretty much just sat the rest of the time around, just flying and helping out the new guys with whatever I could. And yeah, that was pretty much it.
Nice. So what made you decide to get out?
So I was kind of tired of moving, and I got married the same year I got out. So I was dating my wife for a few years, and I was like, I kind of want to settle down, stay in one place, eventually have a family and all that.
Yep.
And it just made sense for us because I honestly wanted to get back into my passion, which was reptiles, and I had to take a big break from that in the Navy. So that's pretty much why. Kind of want to settle down and get back into my my passion.
Tell us about your passion. What
Yeah,
are you doing
reptile.
now? Tommy Reptile.
Yep,
Tommy
reptiles.
Reptile.
Yeah, reptiles. So when I was a little kid, I was typical little boy that likes dinosaurs and all that. And then my mom would bring me to the video store, and then I'd just go through and she'd like pick one. And then I saw one, and the cover. The movie's called Frog. It's actually kind of a really crappy movie. Like if you ever saw that movie, you'd be like, "What the?" It's like a made-for-TV movie almost. And so I got it in the movie. I remember one of the first scenes is this kid, and he's kind of a nerdy kid. He's just walking through his garage, and he has like tanks with iguanas, snakes, all kinds of stuff in there. And I was like, "That's awesome. That's exactly what I want." And I think that kind of like imprinted in my brain. So ever since then, that's been like my goal. I want to have a reptile room, and so that's exactly how I got into it. So right when I got out, I started acquiring reptiles I've always wanted to have, and I just did it for fun. I didn't realize that it could be a business, and so I started my own business, but I haven't started. So when you have a reptile business, you can pretty much breed a few different high-end reptiles, and then when they lay eggs and they hatch them, the reptiles I have, once they breed and have eggs, they sell for $1,000. And I was like, do people really buy this? And there's like something called Morph Market that's online, and it's kind of like Amazon for reptiles. And I was following my friend who sells these high-end turtles. He sells anywhere from $500 to $5,000, and he sells out every year because turtles have breeding seasons or whatever. And he's like, yeah, I first started just like you. I just wanted to get into it, make a little money, and then me and my friend ended up realizing we make way more money doing this than we do at our job. So he like quit his job. Now he has a warehouse that's just filled with turtles. I don't want to get that big, but he has a warehouse filled with turtles, and that's all he does now. He has a really cool turtle website, and he makes a bunch of money selling turtles.
Nice. So tell us about yours.
So when I knew, because my wife is from South Florida, and I always wanted to live in Florida anyway, and I love Florida. When I like Jacksonville, and I love Pensacola, and South Florida to me is perfect for me because you can keep reptiles outside. So when we were first moving down here, because my last I was on shore duty in Virginia Beach. So then when I knew we were moving down here, I was like, I want to get an iguana because that's the first reptile I got. I want to get an iguana, raise it up just for fun. And then right before I moved down here, Florida made it illegal to have a pet iguana. So I was like, what else can I get? Like, what other kind of lizard can I get?
I didn't think anything was illegal in Florida.
Yeah, you'd think. It's funny the weird little things that they choose to make illegal, but you can do all kinds of other crazy stuff down here. But so I was just like, and at this time, I was out of the Navy. I didn't have a job, and my wife got hired down where we live. And I went back to school, and I didn't have a job, and I was just using the GI Bill for school and stuff, and didn't have much extra money. And then the COVID happened, and then they sent the stimulus checks, and I think one of my stimulus checks, I can't remember how much it was, maybe $400 or $500 or something. And then I got the stimulus check, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go on Morph Market, and I ordered this frilled dragon. It's this thing behind me. It's the lizards that have those big frills, like the thing in Jurassic Park. Yeah. So I ordered one of those and just became obsessed. So that's what I'm trying to breed right now. And I have frilled dragons. I have a few monitor lizards, a handful of turtles, and 2 snakes. I'm trying to breed the snakes too. I actually probably right after the podcast is done, I'm probably gonna put the snakes together to see if they breed.
Dang, dude, you should have put that on the podcast. I'd have to increase the rating. It's getting a little nasty in here. That's awesome. Well, that's cool, man. That's so unique. Like, I haven't heard of someone going from like that job we did to such an extreme
Yeah.
adventure. Steve Irwin actually was flew on our on the ship when
That's awesome.
we were deployed. Actually, it was the deployment after I got out, but guys I served with got pictures with them out there. So that's
Yeah,
neat.
that is awesome. You know how like everyone obviously remembers where they were when 9/11 happened? When Steve Irwin died, it was almost this like I remember it like it was yesterday. It was like he was like my childhood idol. You know, I was obsessed with him. And when he died, my parents were driving me back to college to drop me off at the dorms, and then it came on the radio, and I was like devastated. And out of all
Mhm.
the ways that he
I
could have
know.
got killed, it was a stingray. You know, I couldn't believe that. I was,
It's crazy. Yeah, when it's your time.
yeah, that's what makes me think it's a simulation because I'm like a stingray hit him in the heart, like directly in the heart. You know, that's
I
he's right
know.
there.
Yep. No, I
Yeah.
saw that's what reminded me. Yeah, it's crazy because that dude, he did a lot of crazy stuff, especially for that time. You know, he was kind of that first guy. Like he would, he'd be picking up a snake and be like, "Oh, he's really pissed now," and you like slap it around. Oh, check. It was
Yeah.
definitely entertaining.
Yeah,
What's that?
when I was a little kid, I used to write him letters because on his show there's some kind of place that you can mail him letters, and I used to write letters. Hey, can I please come on your show and be your assistant? And I would like constantly send him letters. Obviously, he probably never even got him or saw him, but
Yeah, you
uh,
never know.
yep,
Yeah, do you follow his kids?
yep. I see Robert is he's crushing it on Dancing with the Stars.
I saw that. Yeah, man.
It's weird because I knew he's athletic and talented and all that, but I was like, he looks like he's been doing this for years. He's better than some of the actual dancers, like the dancers themselves. I'm like, he must just be super athletic.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh,
And
something I wanted, you know how you were talking about how the croc hunter would grab snakes and do all this stuff. Something that nobody thinks about, or I don't think they thought about it or see what I see. But you know how you jump in the water and he'd grab like a croc, a saltwater croc, or like a smaller one, and he'd get him, throw him in the boat.
Mhm, yeah.
A lot of people are like, "Oh, that's crazy." But what's crazier to me is when he would do that, there was potentially like a 15-foot crocodile that could have snagged him right when he jumped in and tried to grab the other one and could have eaten him that way. And he'd always be in that water at night. I'm like,
Hmm.
that is insane. People, you probably know, people in Australia die, and it's pretty much like if you get taken underwater by a saltwater croc, you're probably going to die, and people get killed by those a lot. You know?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely had a lot of courage or
Yeah,
a lack of a safety meter, whatever,
yeah.
whatever kept him alive while he did. Um, so you've had all these unique experiences, so it's kind of fun, but I'm just curious for you, like what values guide your choices, like even when nobody's watching?
Hmm. But like any choice or like big choices? Are you saying like?
You tell me. Like what are your guiding values?
Whatever I choose, I want to make sure whatever I choose is something that is a good thing to do, and also I want to make sure it's good for me. Also, I want to make sure it's something that like I would enjoy doing, or because I feel like when you make a choice, if it's something you like or enjoy, you're going to do it better. Or if you're helping, like obviously, we were rescue swimmers, so the choice for that in my mind, after I learned what it was, I kind of sat down. I was like, oh, this actually is very honorable job, pretty much like a superhero. I I potentially can go save people's lives all the time, and I really sat and thought about it, and I was like, that is awesome because a couple of my friends were like, oh, why don't you, when I was in the DEP program, why don't you want to go to be a SEAL and stuff? And in my mind, I didn't really want to, I never, I don't want to, obviously we had machine guns and stuff, but I didn't really fantasize about killing people. And the thought
Hmm.
of potentially saving someone's life when they need it the most, when they're in the middle of the ocean or wherever they're at, that was amazing for me to think about and potentially have the opportunity to do.
Yeah. Our job in the military is very traumatic. Like just flying, is tr can be traumatizing. I mean, we just get used to it. We just do it. It's just normalized. Um, I guess from a traumatic point of view, how do you feel that job has shaped you personally and how you live your life?
Um, I feel like it was the best decision I've ever made. And it's just crazy to me that I kind of fell into it, didn't even know it existed. And
Hmm.
I felt like I was like, this is the perfect, in my opinion, it's the best job in the military. And obviously there's other cool things you could do, but it's just the way deployments are for us is awesome. You work out and you fly and you hang out with the guys. It's just
Hmm.
awesome. And then when you're at home, you're going to the pool, playing volleyball, whatever, flying.
Hmm.
But I would say that um, after I got through the pipeline, did the job, I feel like it makes me it actually gave me a lot of confidence. It kind of it made me know that I could do things if I put my mind to it. Because before I was in the military, like I played sports growing up, but I was never any I was not really any good at any of them. Besides, I was semi decent at lacrosse, but I would play sports and I kind of just sucked at most of them, and I would always be like embarrassed or disappointed in myself, and I didn't have a lot of confidence growing up. And then I had some bullies in the neighborhood and then I was like, push me and my friend around and stuff. And then I was like scared of them. So it gave me like it just it changed me like a full 180. I grew up being
Hmm.
afraid of like, going on a little skateboard jump and stuff. And then I was afraid when I was a little kid, I was afraid to go in the ocean because of Jaws. And then I did the total opposite. So I would say, gave me a lot of confidence. And whenever I want to do something, I'm like, I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it till it's done. I'm going to finish it and do it the right way.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's how it should be. Um, have you have you had the opportunity to use any of those skills, like any rescue situations outside of the Navy?
Yep. Yep. I went to Mexico with my wife's family, and my wife, her cousin was getting married, and then we were like, oh, one of the days, let's do a little. You could rent these little. You've probably seen them. They're like little two-seater boats, and they're kind of just fun to drive around. And so it's just little two-seater boats, and then we all rented those, and you go out with a group of people, and you go out and you all park next to each other in the water, and then there's like little snorkel sites where you can see like statues that are underwater or whatever, which is pretty
Oh
cool.
yeah.
But so the first place we parked, we tied the boats up or whatever, and then we all jumped. I got in the water first. I was excited. I love swimming around. Had the snorkel in, looking for stuff, and then all of a sudden, I heard some commotion going on, and then I just turned and immediately. So one guy, he was from Africa, and he was just this big muscular guy, and even with the little they gave you like some kind, it wasn't like a real flotation, but it was like a little thing that you put on that can kind of help you or something, and he just fell off the boat. He couldn't swim, and he was thrashing around the water, and then I was just like just scope locked, and I just started swimming towards him, in the little the Mexican guy who was on the boat, who was guiding the tour, couldn't get him on the boat, and then the guy like pulled him down. The Mexican fell on the boat, and then I immediately just went up to the back of the African guy. I grabbed the back of his little half-ass flotation thing, and I just grabbed it, and then I pulled him up and I pushed him onto the boat, and I was like, this is awesome. This is what kind of what it it's
Hmm.
training. The training works, and I got him out of the water, and then he ended up just staying on the boat because we had two more stops
Smart.
after that. So he just stayed on the boat. And I was like, why would you jump in if you didn't know?
I'll just figure it out. That's awesome. Yeah, there's always opportunities. I've had way more rescues like outside, whether it's water rescues or I do high altitude mountaineering. So
Yeah.
just being in those situations, but in a lot of times it's those that, hesitate or those that step forward in those moments. And I think it's just ingrained in
Yep.
us, fortunately to do that. So
Yep.
that's amazing.
And I want to say before I went through the whole pipeline and everything, I want to say I hope I would have done the same thing. But after the pipeline, I'm like, it was automatic almost. Like I
Mhm.
didn't even have to think.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's why they weed so many out. Um, the ones that are thinking too much. So you mentioned earlier you had one argument on that first deployment about a cartoon.
Yeah.
Tell us about this.
I can't remember exactly, but my friend was like, because we were talking about it a couple years ago, and I was like, I told you we want to argue, and then he's like, we did have to argue. It was something like something a lot like I want to say that we thought it was almost like I think they call it the Mandela effect. How like you think you see something like growing up, like the have you heard about that, the Mandela effect, or no?
No.
Okay, so growing up, did you ever hear the book, the Bernstein Bears?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so a lot of people think it was the Bernstein Bears, and that's what I thought it was, and a bunch of my friends thought it was the Bernstein Bears, and then somebody said no, it's the Berenstein Bears, and it's like spelled a totally different way than my brain made me
Uh-huh.
think. And then like if you look at like the Fruit of the Loom, like if you just Google Mandela effect, all these things, and some of them will blow your mind because you'll think something existed that didn't exist. So I think it was an
Yeah.
argument about something to do with a cartoon in there, and I was like, no, that guy was in the cart. That he was the guy in the cartoon, and he's like, no, it was just something stupid like that, and we weren't really mad. We are just going back and forth.
Yeah. You don't remember the cartoon?
No, I
Oh
want to say it
man.
might have been like Hey Arnold or something like that, but I can't remember exactly what it
Okay.
was.
Well, everyone look up Mandela effect because Berenstein. I think yeah, I don't
I thought it
know.
was the Bernstein Bears growing up, and I
Bernstein.
had some of their books. Yeah,
I feel like I thought that too until I had kids, and then after reading it, Berenstein,
yeah.
some place it evolved. But yeah, awesome books. Just
Yeah, like
fun to live in a tree.
yeah, but like if you go down a little Mandela effect rabbit hole, some of the stuff you'll be like, no, I swear it's this and not that, and then it ends up being the total opposite. Well, my best friend from back home, we always talk about stuff like this, and it blows his
Oh,
mind. He's like, I can't believe like the Fruit of the Loom emblems is a big one. So a lot of people have this idea of what the Fruit of the Loom emblem looks like and what it really is. I'm like, oh, I thought it was the other way too.
yeah, no, that is fun. That's almost like a fun drinking game.
Yeah,
I don't know if I want to go into that like early in the day because it might just wreck my day.
yeah.
Your whole world just collapses because the Fruit of the Looms is different than I thought, but that's funny. Um, well, cool, man. Well, you've had some amazing experiences and you're off to doing some super interesting things. Based on all those experiences, what's a bit of wisdom that you would leave our listeners with?
um, it's pretty much a very simple, common thing, but I would say if you want to do something, you can really do whatever you want as long as you put your mind to it and you're dedicated to it. I know it's a very common thing people say, but I grew up not really believing in myself too much, and then when I realized you can pretty much do whatever you want as long as you work at it. And it might take a long time, it might be hard, but you can do it if you really honestly want to do it. And you're a perfect example of that. You summited Everest, right? Solo.
Hmm.
So I mean that's a perfect example of it. Oh, yeah, by the way, I wanted to ask you about that. Can
You're
you?
leaving wisdom. Don't make it about me.
Yeah, no, but I'm so curious. But yeah, that is my main piece of wisdom. If I would say because growing up not really good at sports,
Mhm.
not outstanding at anything, and then a lot of people when I was joining the military, like some people in my town, small town, they're like, oh, he's not going to do anything, he's not going to make it. Like I wasn't too good in high school. My guidance counselor had a meeting with me and my parents, and my mom was crying, and she's like, your son isn't college material. And she actually said your son should join the military or get a trade or something. And oddly enough, I went to college first, got a degree, and then joined after. But so that
Mhm.
might have been one of the first main reasons that I started to build some confidence. But
Sure.
yeah, then I was like, it's kind of like I also had the mindset, I'll prove, almost like I know it's good for me, but I'll prove everybody wrong.
Yeah,
And
I was going to ask you that because that can sometimes be a big motivator,
yep,
and what it can backfire if you do fail at something, and then it's like
yep,
they're all right. These voices in your
yep.
head, they've
Oh
been
yeah,
right the whole time.
and I was so scared. I was so afraid of failing. So our school, like, I mean, I enjoyed the pipeline. I loved it, but I was so afraid. I was like, I want to get through this so bad, more than anything I've ever wanted in my life. And luckily, I got through. So pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. No, it's awesome for someone like yourself to walk that out because there's so many people. I don't know if anyone listens to this podcast, but I'm sure there are a few that'll, they need to hear what you have to say, and maybe they're struggling in that same way, and they have those voices, and they just need to know you keep pushing forward because you can accomplish anything. And honestly, if you don't meet that end goal, everything that you do along the way shapes who you are. It just builds that confidence and hopefully rewrites some of those stories that may have been written outside of your control.
Absolutely.
Cool. What question did you have?
Oh, I just wanted to I kind of wanted to hear a little bit about like how do you possibly prep? Like how did you prep for Everest? And then like do you have any like crazy stories about that, because I mean, just summiting Mount Everest in general is incredible, but doing it by yourself, I mean, that has to be freaky, you know. It had to have been scary at some points, you know.
Yeah. It's so to anyone who doesn't mountaineer, everything people that don't jump out of helicopters, everything is scary. It's freaky until you're there and you're trained for it and you're much closer to that problem. So you train for the things that are within your control, and then you have to be able to respond to the things outside of your control. Um, so how I trained, it's probably similar to you. After you get off of this, you're going to have the snakes making sweet tenders and selling eggs. No, that's not how I train. So for me, I think the military really, especially what we did, led into that, because I was pushing myself beyond my comfort zone. Living in the Pacific Northwest, with Mount Rainier and some of these highly glaciated peaks, it's time in the mountains, it's guiding, it's having that confidence, but it's also getting into some pretty sketchy scenarios that you either, respond appropriately and you'll live to climb another day, save some lives. I think it's just a culmination of all that.
Yeah.
And you asked, did I have any unique experiences? Well, you can Google me, but I've had a very unique experience where my first book, Blind Descent, came out of. So I'm one of two people to have ever soloed and had the summit to myself. And then I went completely blind on the summit. So
Wow.
snowblind, I had crack goggles. So hand over hand, made my way down. Just really witnessed a miracle and just, blessed to be alive. But so I had a very much a survival situation. And besides a miracle, I mean, the military training, just to never give up, to stay
Yes.
calm, and just to keep doing everything you can to survive, got me down.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think I got to get that book, because I'm fascinated with people climbing Everest, or in general, like I'm sure you've seen the movie documentary Free Solo. Something I'm not interested in doing myself, but it's just
Me neither.
incredible when people do stuff like that. There's another one, I can't recall the name of the documentary, it's kind of like a little biopic about another guy that's kind of like Alex Honnold, but he did everything kind of like Alex, but he does it on like ice and stuff. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't he die?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, it's a Canadian guy. And he was under the radar too. So it was cool. He was just being a purist, just out there doing his thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, stuff happens. Alex knows that too. I mean, you slip, it's game over.
Yeah.
But you train so hard for that, and and that's how he would want to go. So it's impossible for people outside of that to really understand that,
Yep.
because we people stay in their safety bubbles. But for those that they're just called to do something different, they're wired different. Who are we to judge?
Yep.
Um, Trust me, many people are brave behind a keyboard. I get attacked on a daily, and I don't read that crap. It's fine, because I am who I am, and I know everyone out there does something that's someone probably call. I'm sure people think you're crazy for what you do with the reptiles.
Yeah. I stopped. Like you, I kind of stopped reading into it, because my wife would be like, "Stop, just delete them, or don't pay attention to them," because
Mhm.
people say, "Oh, whatever." People always say something negative about someone, and they're always just like talking crap about me and like my reptiles or whatever. But at the end of the day, I've been keeping reptiles for 30 plus years, so I have a good idea. I know what I'm doing, and people will they always just talk crap. I literally made a giant walk-in enclosure for my frilled dragons outside. It's like the biggest frilled dragon enclosure I've seen anyone build or have, and people are like, "That's way too small." I'm like, "Have you not seen people keep them in fish tanks?"
I know.
So I'm just
People
like,
are,
I'm not gonna read into it anymore.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't even. It's not worth it. Um, so, anyways, so Tommy, thanks so much for being on. This has been a fun conversation. Where can people find you?
Um, you can find me on YouTube at Tommy's Reptiles, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm not really on TikTok too much, but yeah, just Tommy's Reptiles. And thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, no, it has been a pleasure. All right, and for everyone else, we will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Calm in the Chaos podcast. Please subscribe to be notified of future episodes, and if you enjoyed what you just heard, please leave a 5-star review on whatever platform you listen to podcasts. Until next time, get out there and make a difference so others may live.